Hello and welcome back to the MMA Split Pick Show ahead of UFC Kansas City, headlined by favourite of the show, featherweight legend, future UFC Hall of Famer, one of the greatest fighters that ever lived, Max Holloway, taking on England's own, humble, dangerous, undefeated in the UFC, Arnold Allen. On a 14-fight card, the main event to which has got some great fights and some good names. The prelims has also got fights. One of them definitely should be on the main card. I'm starting to think that the UFC matchmakers do not like Brandon Royval. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, that one's an insane choice. I hope we're just looking at an early lineup here. I mean, I know we're doing this really late in the week, but I don't think they change this by Saturday.
I don't think they're going to change it by Saturday.
Fuck.
Gillian Robertson down at strawweight. Thank the gods. I've been wanting to see this for a while. Very excited about that. Billy Q versus Edson Barbosa. Basically, Kansas City is in for some good fights.
Yeah, so
after about the first four prelims.
No, there's still some good names on there. Gaston Bolaños is good. Lando Veneta.
That's a good fight. Against
Can't
Zellhuber.
Yeah.
That's an interesting fight.
You got Ed Herman, Zach Cummings for the diehards, so I'm going to enjoy that one.
That's an old-timers fight. I didn't even know Ed Herman was still doing the damn thing.
I think he just prays he gets enough like nut shots or fouls or something that he can just like get 2 paychecks.
It's how he beat Slow Mike. It's how he beat Slow Mike. I'm, of course, Matt, joined by fellow host and producer Josh. We're coming off some bad weeks on our picks, man. Me especially. I got 4 fights right out of 13 for the UFC 287.
Out of 12.
I got
out of 12.
Out of 12.
Out of 12.
Still 33%.
And the other one was a Chase Sherman fight, so we were definitely going to get that one right.
We would have got that right.
I broke 500, so I'm not proud of it, but quit dragging me down with this whole terrible week. I hit 500. I did okay-ish.
I can't even blame the judging, man, because I got screwed on the Calvillo Lupi Godinez pick, but then I should have lost the Luana pick because I picked Luana and it should have gone to Michelle. So really, I should have got it wrong. I got it wrong. It's thrown my confidence off a little bit for this week's picks, but sometimes you just got to have a hit and hope. It's like the main event.
Probably qualifies us to be MMA judges in most athletic state commissions as well, being this bad at it.
If they're going to let Dan Mogliata be an MMA judge, then I'm pretty sure we could do it. I think we should look at getting qualified. If they ever come to Spain, I want to be on that fucking card. I want to have an influence. Just once. I'll do some local fight MMA. I'll do some regional judging. I don't give a fuck. Right, let's talk about these fights because we've got 14 of them.
Yep.
There's plenty to get into. The main event is a barn burner, and 2 guys at very different points in their career. Really, this is a hard one to call. We got Max Holloway, who's coming off 3 losses to Volkanovski, not all in order. Couple of wins sandwiched in between those as well. But definitely a year since he last fought was one of his worst performances. Just didn't seem like he could get going, whether or not that was Volkanovski, whether or not that was him. Did not look like the Max that we've come to know and love. Arnold Allen, on the other hand, has been steadily putting work in, getting wins. Not overly spectacular at first, but building up. Last few fights, guy's been on fire. Couple of big names. Obviously, the Calvin Kattar win. Injury to Kattar, a little bit unfortunate, but I thought Allen was looking sensational up until that point.
Yeah, and he was landing well. He's really figured out how to time heavy shots, and he makes adjustments when he needs to. The problem is that he will get caught first, so his head movement will be okay, and he will get caught a few times, and he will make the adjustment. Max Holloway can keep mixing it up. I still don't know who I'm picking. I'm just.
Here's my argument, and we'll do the picks in a bit, but I'm going to just say now I am picking Max, and my argument is this: the only reason why people would think Arnold's going to win this fight is if you don't think the Max is the same guy. If you think he's starting to drop off, the damage is accumulating, the speed is going down a little bit, something like that. The best Max, I think, beats the best Arnold Allen.
Yeah.
I think that what we've seen with Volkanovski isn't so much.
Or the best Arnold Allen we've seen to date.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how much you can hold a Volkanovski loss against a guy in this division. Volkanovski might be one of the greatest fighters that we've ever seen, certainly of this era. And Max beats everyone in this division whose name is not Volkanovski. Everybody. He has a win over Yair, who might upset Volkanovski and be the next champion. Like, Max is of the highest level that you can be. He just has this one guy that's a little bit further ahead of him. The caveat I will put to this, and this is my one worry with Max. Back in 2020, he said he'd stop sparring. And I've heard a lot of guys say that when you stop sparring for the first year and a half, you feel great. You come into fights, you don't feel as beat up, you don't feel as injured, you've still got your timing. But then after about a year and a half, it just starts to fade. And all of a sudden you're reaching on shots, and all of a sudden you're not quite there. And if I look at Max Holloway, from the timeline of when he said he stopped sparring, which is before the second Volkanovski fight, so during the COVID lockdown period, where he probably didn't have any training partners he could spar with anyway. Looks great in that second Volkanovski fight. Arguably won that fight. Didn't get out on the judges, but his best performance against Volkanovski. Follows it 6 months later. Fight against Calvin Kattar. Looks like a world beater. Has some of the coolest, most iconic moments of his career. The part where he's looking at the commentary team, slipping punches, saying he's the best boxer in the UFC. Was setting world records for number of strikes landed in the fight, number of light strikes landed in the round. Broke his own world records at 2 different points in that fight alone. After that, this is when he then gets injured. And then he fights Yair Rodriguez. And he wins that fight. But Yair Rodriguez was kind of outlanding him a lot on the feet. And he wasn't quite as fast and fluid. And you chucked it up to, well, Rodriguez is just so good. And Max found a different way to win. He was able to take him down to the ground and control him. Used his experience. Next fight, though, Volkanovski 3. Max looked awful.
Well, it wasn't that he looked awful, it was just that Volkanovski had really applied all of the information that he downloaded in those first 2 fights way more effectively than Max could. He was just half a step ahead of him the whole time.
True.
Yair Rodriguez, bit of an off night, but also just, it's a weird frame, it's a weird style, it's, you know, there's 2 kickboxers going at it, and one of them's got just a little bit more on his kicks, he's a little longer, he's got the bigger reach. So Max did well to make it a fight that he could control and win in his own way. Yeah, he's getting older. Yeah, he's dropping off. But I think it's the same as like we talked about on the breakdown this week. Like playing possum, like a lot of fighters are going to say they stopped sparring. I don't know all of them stopped sparring. Also, I don't know what they really define as sparring. I think if you're taking lots of 5-round fights and staying active, and you're still spending some rounds, some light technical rounds in the gym, it's not all just like pads and bag work. As long as you're not taking an insane amount of damage and you're getting the balance right, I think if you can stay busy that way, you know, and touch wood, don't get injured any other way.
Yeah.
I think that's probably as close to perfect as you could do it. Probably. I think I understand if, like, for a big fight, you're going to want to put in lots of hard sparring and just pray you don't get too fucked up before you get there and that you get as sharp as you can get. But it's not a career. That is a 1-fight strategy. That is a 3 or 4 fight strategy at best. And it's also like there's no retirement plan. You get to have a life until you're about 35, 40, and then it all just falls off a cliff. So, guys going to say this. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe sometimes they say they went from hard sparring to light sparring. You never really know for sure. But like, say when like Lawler said he stopped sparring, that guy couldn't pull the trigger anymore. That guy looked like he loved fight week and he loved the walkout and he loved the competition, but he didn't necessarily love the violence in the same way he had before.
Yeah, I get it.
Max Holloway, I still see as a hungry guy. I still see as a guy that loves the violence. Arnold Allen, though, it's just he's got the reach, and he hasn't got the same like movement as like a Volkanovski, but he's gonna have that same sort of ability to kind of get on the inside a bit more. Can he work the body? Can he do enough without getting caught, getting hurt, and just getting slowed down early on in the fight?
I think he feints more than Max. I think he's going to be a bit lighter on his feet. I think he's going to be much more fleet foot, moving in and out. One thing I like about Arnold Allen a lot, you talk about head movement, and I wouldn't say he's got like a classic boxer's head movement, but he's, with his footwork as well, and that kind of bouncing sort of rhythm he's got, he's very good at, and you saw this in the Hooker fight, the pull back encounters.
Yeah.
You know, particularly somebody like Max that can kind of throw in, punch his way into range and likes to throw combinations. It will leave those gaps open. And if Allen can use his footwork, use his reach, fight long, just shown that he can land hard, shown that he can kind of excel in all areas of the game. I don't think he's going to be put on his backs by Mac. I think it's going to be very much a stand-up fight. There is the argument with damage accumulation. Like Max I think he's absorbed the most amount of headshots in UFC history. There's an argument to say eventually it's going to add up. Is this the fight that happens? Can I pick based on waiting for something like that? It's like betting on when Tom Brady was active, the betting on Tom Brady to eventually fall off a cliff. Like, yeah, it's going to happen eventually, but you might be wrong for a lot of fights for a lot of years before you're right. I haven't seen Arnold Allen, this is the clincher for me, haven't seen him go 5 rounds. If the Calvin Kattar fight was a 5-round fight that he'd won, I might feel differently. But I still think that he uses a lot of energy. I think all of that kind of, jagged movement, lots of feints, it's all really good. But I've seen him get tired in the Sadiq Yusuff fight. I've seen him fatigue in 3rd rounds, and at least look like the output, the speed is going down a little bit. Max will not get tired. If it becomes a dogfight, Max will fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
He will keep going even if you've hurt him. You won't likely break him. And this might be the first fight where serious questions have to be asked and answered about yourself if it becomes a dogfight.
Well, that's the kind of thing I think is the only way Allen can really win a decision here is if he does get a lot of good body work in early and kind of drag Max down to a slower pace. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go Allen for this one.
Bold.
It'll make watching the fight a bit more interesting knowing that we got a bit more skin in the game there.
This is true. And I think we can probably move down to the co-main event.
Yes.
I'm Holloway. You're Allen.
And
Edson Barbosa.
Yeah,
Billy
so
Quarantillo.
You've submitted your picks, but I haven't looked at him yet.
So you're going to go first every time.
I'm just going to shoot from the hip here.
That's fine.
I'm going Edson Barbosa. I think this is a great fight. I think this is very close. This is either, Barbosa's got nothing left, or Billy Q really gets to put a big name that he fucking deserves on his record.
I think this is a bad fight for Barbosa. I'm going Billy Quarantillo. The first 2 or 3 minutes is going to be very informative. If Barbosa can keep Billy at the end of everything, keep him at that kicking range, I think Quarantillo's fucked. What Barbosa struggles with the most is people that put pressure on. Take away that kicking range, stay in his face, keep him working, particularly at featherweight. He just hasn't got the same level of speed advantage, the same gas tank. I'm going Billy Q. I think if he gets through a first couple of minutes and just survives it, I think he's going to be able to start putting the pressure on and putting combinations and just smothering Barbosa.
Maybe. I mean, I love the guy, but the thing is, since he's been kind of stepped up with competition, the guys he's beat haven't been as impressive as the guys he's lost to, and he needs to buck that trend. This is the opportunity. I like that we're getting the separation though.
Nice and early. Next up, light heavyweight, Dustin Jacoby, not Justin Jacoby, as I always end up saying, taking on Azamat Murzakanov. Undefeated, still rolling through, loads of hype. Josh, you go first.
He had that really, I don't want to say ugly, right? Because all flying knees can be a little ugly in a sense, but graceless flying knee against Nchukwi.
It landed.
It could be a fun fight. I think your boy Azamad's pretty dangerous, but I'm going Jacoby.
You're going Jacoby.
Yeah.
You're going experience. Kickboxing.
Yeah, just every now and again, Jacoby just makes me makes it easy for me to root for him. He's had some good fights. I like the way he puts it out there. Yeah, I'll go Jacoby.
I'm going
Bounce
Mirza.
back from the Roundtree loss.
I'm a sucker for an undefeated fighter, man. I'm going Mirzakhanov. I think he puts Justin on his back, keeps him on his back,
That's
beats him up.
perfect. Like if I can just get everything opposite to you, I don't even have to write mine down.
That'd be amazing. Well, let's see if I don't think it's going to continue because the next fight
Yeah, I think
is
we're
the
both
light
very
heavyweight
excited for this
debut
one, so
of Tanner Boser, and he's been given I1 Kutalaba. So you know the UFC like this guy. You know the UFC like this guy. They could have given him some fucking murderers in this division.
Oh.
They give him Kutalaba. Kutalaba's going to try and wrestle him the whole time.
Where's the thing? Kutalaba has got a lot of power, and since he started wrestling guys, he's made it a lot harder for guys to beat him, even though he still doesn't look fantastic. But he's become a smarter fighter. He paces himself well. It's going to be very, very hard for him to even land the takedowns on Tanner Boser. I really don't want to have to write down picks, but I guess fucking doing it on this one. There's no way you're not picking Boser, right?
Picking Boser, man.
We've been pretty excited when we heard that he was moving down to 205.
I also disagree with you. I don't think Kutalaba is efficient with his energy at all. He wrestles guys very aggressively in the first round at the moment.
Versus the way he first fought when he came to the UFC, where it was 100% on every single shot, and he could last for about 2.5 minutes. And
Here's the
then it was,
difference, though. At least if you land one of those knockout shots, the fight's over. What he does at the moment is the same issue that you see with the fucking fat heavyweight Romanov.
Yeah, Romanov, yeah.
You know, where he's all these hip toes and throwing guys down and all the rest, but you're not doing damage. You're not ground and pounding them. You're not locking in a submission. So you're effectively winning a round using a huge amount of energy. If you can't do that for all 3 rounds, it's not worth the tactic. I'm going Tanner Boser all day long.
Yeah. Also, if you look at like the knockouts he has in the UFC, the only kind of halfway impressive ones are Khalil Roundtree and Luis Enrique da Silva, which I guess must have been at heavyweight. Light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight.
Yeah. Boser.
Boser.
Easy. Apparently I have to fucking write shit down this week.
Well,
Whatever.
next up, let's see if you have to. If you might only have to write one thing down. Pedro Munoz taking on Chris Gutierrez. What's your pick here?
Fuck. Kind of like this fight, man.
It's a good fight.
I kind of like this fight a lot. Fuck. I'm gonna go Gutierrez. I want to go Munoz. You know, just something feels like he's been one of my guys for a long time.
I know.
Gutierrez is pretty fucking good though.
He's on a
And
bit of a roll.
whoa, actually quite a significant favourite on here. So yeah, that's picking itself.
I'm also going Gutierrez. Pedro Munoz is getting very old for the division. I think he's lost a lot of confidence, a lot of momentum. I mean, when was his last win? I think it's Jimmy Rivera in like 2020.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you don't count getting robbed by judges.
2021. Start of 2021. He's lost only 2 fights in a row. But I think he lost a couple of fights. Oh, he lost, yeah. Lost to Frankie Edgar. Yeah, it's not been an easy run for him. Not been an easy run. I think confidence plays a big role in this one. Gutierrez is surging. It's Gutierrez for me.
Alright. I think we're going to start getting a little bit more similar now.
Clay Guida taking on Rafa Garcia. What do you think? You got it in you to pick the old dog?
No, well, look on paper, Guida has the tools to really frustrate a guy like Rafa, but it's just 10 years too late for him, isn't it? Rafa Garcia.
I'm going Rafa, but part of me wants to be wrong and see Guida just have another Santos level.
It was down for a fun fight. I won't say no to a good fight.
Okay, so onto the
another good fight
prelims.
coming.
Just the picks for the prelims, although we can talk about one of these fights and you'll know which one in detail. Bill Algeo taking on TJ Brown. Who's your pick?
Senor Perfecto, Bill Algeo.
Hey, we're starting to get pretty similar. I'm picking Algeo as well. Brandon Royval taking on Matthias Nicolau.
This fight is fire. This is the one you're complaining about. This is ridiculous. This is not. To be honest, like you can even make an argument for being like fucking co-main.
I would have made that co-main, and I would have booted Clay Guida and Rafa Garcia to headline the prelims. Me personally.
Yeah, man. Nicolau is a fantastic fighter, but Raw Dog just He he's so aggressive and he just snatches
caught.
weird fucking moments. I'm going Brandon Royval, but I doubt he's the favourite here.
I'm going Royval. He gets caught though.
Yep.
He gets caught way too much. He gets caught on the ground in weird submissions.
Yep.
He gets caught on the feet. He's fun, but fun only gets you so far. I'm picking him because I don't think Nicolau. I feel like Nicolau's a very safe, technical, talented, well-rounded, but I would describe him as effective. I don't see him catching Royval in something like Brandon Moreno caught him in.
Yeah, he's got quite a smooth style. He has a tightly diametric kind of approach to risk reward. So like fucking Brandon Royval. Royval starts with a kitchen sink. Nicolau's like, how do I get the decision?
Yeah. But I'm picking Royval. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Zach Cummings versus Ed Herman.
Zach Cummings.
I'm also picking Zach Cummings. Sorry, Ed. You don't want to go with your ginger compatriot? No.
I'm pretty sure Zach's got some gin in him.
He's got a beard.
Looks like one of us.
He's got a beard.
I'm a big Cummings fan.
Gillian Robertson. She's down at strawweight, taking on the undefeated Piero Rodriguez.
Yeah, I can't do it. I'm sorry, Jill. I'm going to go Rodriguez.
I think Jill at strawweight's going to be a monster, man. Everyone that's beaten her at strawweight, at flyweight, was just too big for her to handle.
Yeah.
She'll be able to muscle fuck some girls. That style she's got, I think, is going to be way more smothering. I'm going Robertson, man. Lando Venata taking on Daniel Zelhuba. I think I know where you're going, but I still want to hear you say it.
Oh, I'm trying to remember much about Zelhuba. He's not a debutant, is he?
No, he's fought
Recognise the
Trey
name.
Ogden. He lost to Trey Ogden.
That's it. Look, I'll go with Groovy, Lando Venata.
Hey,
He's getting long of a tooth, but
I'm going Lando Venata as well. Really talented striker. Really talented striker. He's had some good fights, even early in his UFC career. Couple of bad losses as well, but I think he wins. Okay, 3 fights to go. Bruna Brasil taking on Denise Gomez. What's your pick?
I'll take the one named after the Terry Gilliam film, Brazil.
I'm also going Brazil, but that wasn't the reason that I picked it. Aaron Phillips taking on your boy Gaston Bolanos from Bellator.
Yeah, go with Gaston, please.
I'm going Aaron Phillips. And Jocelyn Edwards taking on Lucy Padalova.
Oh yeah, she beat Yan Amui. Alright, I'll go Padalova.
I'll go Jocelyn Edwards.
Boom.
So how many different is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different on a 14 fight card.
The last time we had this much separation,
We tied.
fucking 3 of the fights dropped off on the from Friday onwards. So let's not jinx this time.
Touch wood.
For fuck's sake.
Should be a fun night in Kansas City. Enjoy this because after which...
You'll be dead.
No, well there is
Carry on,
UFC
Skin.
the weekend after and there are actually some good fights on, but then we start getting into 288 territory and all the rest. This last run that they've had from March through is one of the best runs of cards I can remember. Certainly in terms of main event. I mean, you think we've had in the last 4 pay-per-views, we've had in main events Islam Volkanovski, which was a fucking amazing fight. We've had Jones steamrolling Garn, Leon Edwards defending against Usman, Izzy winning his belt back in spectacular fashion, and the crowning of Jamal Hill.
Yeah. I think it's
new-
also the final year of the ESPN deal. So I wonder if we're going to get a strong finish to the year as well.
Well, this is one factor with the UFC's merger with the WWE, is that company now has a stock valuation of $24 billion. That's a negotiation tool and a marketing tool that they can use for their TV deals.
Yeah.
I expect them to re-sign with the ESPN. I think it's good. I don't think the UFC is mainstream enough to go, we can just put ourselves behind our own wall. We should have included this in the podcast, but fucking hell. We were rushed. But that's my viewpoint. I think until you're more mainstream, you want to be on as mainstream of a sports channel as you possibly can. This one is on cable, I believe, or it's on network TV or something.
Yes.
So I think it's just either ESPN.
I will purchase this legally.
I don't know if that means it's on ESPN instead of ESPN Plus. It's different for us in Europe. We've got Fight Pass and
Hang on, have
Sport.
we got an earlier kickoff here as well?
Kansas City's Midwest. I'd be surprised. I would be surprised, but we can have a check. No, it's actually starting later than usual. Prelim starts 11:30. Thanks, UFC. Although we're getting 2 London cards this year, both of which might be pay-per-views.
I've got it saying it's going to be 9:30. Or am I... What's CEST? Is that not Central European Standard Time?
Yes.
So I think we've got a bit of an earlier one. I think the main event will be 2, but the prelims are scheduled for 9:30. I've got here.
I've got 11:30, and that's up to date.
Fair enough. I'll go with that. Well, no. Tapology's my Bible, but MMA fight cards is good for a lot of things. But the lineups, the times, sometimes the fight cancellations. It's, you know what I mean. Like, I really appreciate the people that are making that website work, but they're obviously not getting paid a shit ton of money to do it. They got to do what they got to do.
Google can be pretty useless, but when it comes to giving you the correct time for your area, it's pretty good. And on that note, guys, enjoy the fights. Likes, comment, leave your own picks. Let us know who you think is going to win. We'll catch you next week for the podcast, which will be done on the Monday as usual, probably released Monday night or Tuesday. And until then, have a great weekend. Bye Dave, bye Laurie, bye Trifa.
Bye Laurie, bye Dave.